On today's episode, we're going to talk about salespeople. We're actually bringing out some truths, peel back the layers of all this fluff, shining the light on this industry as a whole. Maybe you should stay away from it. Hi everybody, welcome to Real Estate Raw and Uncut. This is episode 98. I'm Byron Lazine, Tim Bray. Today we've got Joel Valenti of Bob Valenti Auto Mall and Dale Bach, a very experienced auto industry individual. Dale, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself, and then we'll kind of get into today's topic.
Yeah, I came from a very successful automobile group of dealerships, Bach Motors. You might have heard of Ernie Bach. We were very successful at this point. Right now we're top in Honda and just about in the country, and then Toyota. And then what I do is I'm a business strategist, and I work in the automobile business, helping dealerships perform the way they ought to perform.
That's good stuff. We're happy to have you here.
And
thank you.
And Joel, this is what is this? Third generation family business?
I'm fourth generation.
Fourth generation.
5 generations going on now.
You get named there? What happened?
Cut myself cutting up a lemon here.
All right.
Yeah.
So really, what we wanted to get into, we're real estate professionals. You guys are auto industry professionals, and a lot of the public who's not familiar, maybe doesn't have family members in the sales industry. They hear salesperson and they go, oh man, they're just out to get me. They're just out to get my money, as opposed to maybe solving my problems.
Well, there's a perception, and maybe the industry's these two. I mean, you have sales as a whole, and then you have real estate and car sales, and sometimes there's a perception of maybe it's a barrier to entry or lack thereof. So it's easy
to get into the business.
To get into real estate, it takes 60 hours in a course.
Yeah.
And maybe in the sales side, it's a similar thing, and there isn't enough training, but that's different here, which is neat.
Right. What's the culture here in the way people are brought in to help rather than sell?
So really, we don't want to emphasize that it's about one deal. We want to emphasize that it's about building a client base, and we really want to provide a long-term relationship more so. So
let's see, I come in, my family. I walk through the door, I have a specific need that I may not even know exactly what it is. So how do you view me? Do you view me as one transaction?
So we don't view you as one transaction, really. We want to look at you over the long-term period. So people are going to buy on average a vehicle every 3 years. So if you're looking over a long-term period, that's possibly 20 cars in a lifetime, right?
Exactly.
And so over time, building that relationship and continuing to sell those people vehicles is what matters, rather than that one deal.
So one and done.
I'll definitely be a 20 car guy. I was just telling Carolina on the way here that I never want to have that used car issue of like having to have something serviced, which is why I always want the new car. In your experience, where do you see that transition, or the differences in the way people are quote unquote selling their product?
Well, unfortunately, the public has had all these experiences of buying cars over the years with their fathers and grandfathers and grandmothers, and the whole perception is if you walk into a dealership, you got to be very careful, because these guys really know how to negotiate, and they're going to try to sell you something, and you're going to pay too much money. So, and unfortunately, what happens is when they walk into a dealership, they are very defensive, and they have all their information. They hold their cards very close, and they don't want to give up anything. So,
sure.
Unfortunately, what happens is a typical salesperson doesn't understand that. So, the salesperson will react to their defensiveness and basically not really try to engage, in a way to really understand what's going on. They'll just start to say, okay, and we'll try to help you. Let's see what we can do, and then the salesperson's thinking more about how they're going to sell them something, rather than figure out what their issues are to be able to get them to open their cards and say, look, here's where I am. Can you help me?
Right. Dale, I like what you said about the automobile industry evolving and kind of where it was, and then how it's kind of come to be what it is now. Could you explain that a little bit better?
Well, and that's really the reason why most people have the perception of that if they go into a dealership, if they're not careful and they don't really do their homework, they're going to get a bad deal. And the reason why is over the years ago, it used to be what a thing called push selling, where you'd walk into a dealership and they just pound you away and push you into trying to buy something and won't let you leave until you
Sign
give them a
here.
deposit, sign here, and all that. And of course, as the consumer became more sophisticated, and actually this selling technique was in the 50s and 60s, it was probably prevalent in all industries. And then around the 70s, they started to think about the customer a little more, and then it became pull selling. In other words, you ask questions. In other words, instead of saying, here, buy this right now, say, so how do you feel about the car? Do you feel good? Will it look good in your driveway?
You look good, you feel good, you play good.
Yeah. So
You know?
then, so then when the person's answered all these questions affirmatively, then you say, okay, sign here now.
That's right. You go back to the push.
And so what I've noticed, and I felt that the consumer is now at a point where they have issues that they'd like someone who supposedly knows something about cars and knows something about prices and the automobile business will basically help them deal with the issues they have, because a car now is very expensive. And people have certain needs, and with their lives the way they live, they have to figure out how they
So
fit.
it's really about getting to know someone really well and investigating their needs, right? It's
So
the same
don't-
thing in real estate.
Don't sell them a car, create a game plan to accomplish their goal.
Help them buy rather than
Yeah.
sell
And
them
Tim and I,
something.
like when we meet with sellers all the time, before we come over, we're like, hey, we just want to talk to you about setting up a game plan to get you to the next chapter of your life, whatever it may be. And we did a video on it. It may not be sell. It may be rent the property and
we
go
may
do
not
something.
even be able to help you.
Right.
You know, the solution selling or that approach, consultative approach, we may find out that maybe it's not in their best interest to do anything at this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let me get back to what I was saying about issue selling. So what has happened with the automobile business is that the industry hasn't recognized that help someone buy, get on their page, figure out what's going on in the system. They haven't recognized that that's a much smarter way to do it. So what's happening, we're still training people to try to close and try to get someone to buy something rather than slow down and help them sell. And unfortunately, because the automobile business is the type of thing where it's immediacy, get the car sold now, spot deliver it, then what happens, the industry doesn't understand that if you slow down, recognize the customer needs a lot more, what will happen is you'll be able to accomplish a lot more. But there's a great book called The Art of Learning where they call investment and loss. The automobile business.
Write that down for me, somebody.
The automobile business has a problem with slow down a little and trying to improve their the way they do something, improve their expertise. And so what I do is I have a thing called care to listen. And when it comes to salespeople, I say, look, I can't get you to listen, because if you're thinking about selling, you're not going to listen. But I can tell you it's okay to care about somebody. And if you care about somebody, the more you care about helping them, the more you're going to listen. And when you listen, then at that point you can understand what the issues are, and you can do something about those issues. And it's not a bad thing if you look at the issues and you honestly figure out what the issues are, because what will happen is that if it's not a good fit, you do the right thing for them, they'll respond very favorably. As a matter of fact, I was running one dealership many years ago, and that I implemented this program that if we did a good job and figured out what was right for them and our product wasn't right for them, what we did is we went out and found them a deal for the other product. And I just did this because I thought it was the right thing to do, but the benefit was, which really surprised me, is every time we sold a vehicle, we ended up getting 2 referrals from it, because they just could not believe that we would do something like that. And the store took off, not because I had fancy advertising or anything else. It was because what I did is I was there to help people and figure it out.
So in the beginning there, when you're trying, obviously every business wants to grow their transactions, be a leader in transactions. How did you continue to grow transactions, I guess, without advertising and just relying on referrals? Did you have to now touch more people to be able to help more people?
Well,
Or
the amazing
balance?
the amazing thing that happened is that if you have to understand that 99% of the business, when a customer walks into a dealership, what they're doing is they're trying to, protect themselves. And so how great it was when they really felt that these people really care, they really are interested in figuring this out for me, what my issues are. It was easy. Because they go to 3 other places and we'd call them back. They said, yeah, I want to do business with you, and if the car wasn't, it just didn't work for them, then we'd say, okay, no problem. If you're going to go to the other place, here's the deal you got to get. We'll help you get it. So it just made such a difference that people just were so impressed that they just said, hey, you got to go buy a car here. Go down and see these people. And it just, that year, the product I was involved with went down 70% in sales.
Wow.
And we went up 400% that year.
Wow. So it's care. It's the word care. It's,
Care.
as we say, empathy.
Yeah.
So if you have empathy for your client, you care, then everything else will just fall into place.
And I found that, you can tell them to have empathy, but they're so trained not to have empathy because everything they've been trained in the automobile business to try to get the sale. So it's so difficult. But what I found is, as I said to them, I said, it's okay to care. And everybody really, in most cases, want to help someone else. They have it inside their heart to basically be nice, be good. So when you take salespeople who are used to really just, feel that they're predators, a lot of people don't like that, but they feel that's the only way they can make the money. And so what happens is when you give them this other tool that it's okay to care, it really works. And then you got to help them get through it. And I've taken many sales people that were selling 8 or 10 cars a month that are now selling 20, and they enjoy it a lot better, and customer satisfaction's a lot higher. I remember one time I was running a big dealership, and I had there was like 3 different dealerships, and there were 40 salesmen, 40 or 50 salesmen. Every Monday morning we'd have a big meeting. And so I was the general manager of the whole thing, and so what we do Monday morning, I'd first talk with all the salesmen and the managers, and then what happens is salespeople would leave and I have a meeting with the managers. So after a little while I was working there, I figured I could adopt this to this group of dealerships. So what I did is they came in and I had on a placard, stop selling cars.
It's awesome.
And then they
Got
said,
their attention then.
yeah, they did. They said, is he gone crazy? What's going on? Because I felt at this point they trusted me and they recognized that I had something to offer. So then I said, guys, you see what that is? I said, stop selling cars. This is what you really need to do. And they'll go, well, what are you talking about? And I'll say, I'm going to show you. Then I put it up, help people buy. And then then I said, this is what we really need to do. This is going to make you better salespeople. It's going to create a better relationship with the customer. You're going to succeed a lot more, and you're going to have fun doing it. And so
Right.
To your point, I was actually talking to a very experienced real estate broker who's done very well, and she said, Byron, you need to work more, and I work with buyers, but I work with a lot of my sellers. You need to work more with buyers because they're going to be your biggest raving fans. They're the ones that you helped buy. You helped them really through that whole process. And it was a very good point. I still love selling homes, marketing homes, but
Yeah, the
I like
interest-
helping
you're good
people
at
buy. Yeah.
Because I've done a lot of consulting work for the real estate business too, and the interesting thing about the real estate business is that it's a much more sophisticated sale
Right.
than the automobile business, than selling an automobile, because there's so much more involved. It's such a big a transaction. And so I found that the really great real estate agents, it takes them longer, but they really have to understand work with enough buyers to really understand buyers and get enough experience, because it takes a lot longer for somebody to reach a level of $200,000-$300,000 in the real estate business than it does for a salesperson to be able to learn how to sell 20 cars a month. Because the thing is that it's, you know, a car, it's quick, it's fast,
It's quick and
simple.
easy. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
but with real estate, it's being able to, I guess, slow down enough to get into the prospect's head, and
create the relationship.
of course, to create a relationship. But there's something about when you're showing properties, to be able to understand the nuances and what they're responding to, what they're responding to, and then put it all together in a package to see really what they're really talking about. And,
Sure.
You know, and I think
it's
that
about
the
solid
psychology-
communication.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, really communicating truthfully and at a deep level.
And to Dale's point, when you're
Absolutely.
talking about
Yeah.
the place that they may live in 10, 15 years, you really got to over communicate a lot of those situations of,
Right.
hey, what about in 5 years when, you know, little Johnny grows up, what are we going to do then? So that's a great point. The one difference I see that's interesting to me, and then we'll wrap this up, is like here, they've got to come here, right, to
Right.
get the car. Where for us to create those relationships, we've just got to go everywhere. And I think the people that help the most people in real estate and are able to help a lot of people achieve their game plan and their goal are the ones that just get out enough to enough people, meet with enough people. You know, you can have a consultative approach, but if you're not touching enough people, and it's a small number of people, that word's going to spread a lot thinner than it will be if you go out and you're talking.
Yeah,
to
it's
the
always
masses.
about hard work. I mean,
Right.
you know, it's working hard. and
Right, right.
It's always hard work, and even in the automobile business. I mean, you know, a top car salesman will sell 1 out of 3 prospects. You know, so what happens is if they want to sell a certain number of cars and they just start out, when they start out, they may sell 1 out of 6, 1 out of 7. So if they want to,
I think I could do 2 out of 3.
yeah, 2 out of 3. That's pretty good. So I think that every and even in the real estate business, that a good real estate agent will start measuring how many people they have to really talk to understand how much work they have to do
You
to
have
be
to.
able to
You
deliver.
have to.
Because I think a basic good real estate agent should start off with 1 sale a month, and then take it from there. And so
Geez,
what does it
they would
take?
be happy, because
Yeah, the average
typical
agent-
does
Yeah.
4 transactions
A
a
year.
year.
Or
and
less.
they're in the industry for 4 years.
Yeah,
before
and
they-
the average car salesman sells 10 to 12 cars a month, when the better ones are selling 20 plus cars a month, and there's a huge difference between those numbers. The same thing with 4 or 5
Absolutely.
real estate transactions a month to 12 real estates a month. So the way I look at it, any business, I take someone who has the aptitude and the attitude, and then what I do is I say, okay, he's doing 4 a month, let's figure out what you need to do 12, and here's your task. And then what you do is the manager of that person, that real estate person, will manage that task for them to help them get it, because it's very difficult for them to do it on their own. And just even in a car dealership, which is a lot easier because the manager's there with the salesman all day long. I mean, it's a lot harder in the real estate business because they consider themselves somewhat independent contractors, which they actually are.
They are.
You know,
They are, yeah.
legally they are. So what happens is that, and I remember when I was consulting for one big real estate firm who had a bunch of firms, and he was saying, yeah, but they're independent contractors. I says, yeah, but it's your job to show them that if you take some of these techniques, you're going to be a much more successful independent contractor. You know, and so what you have, first of all, as a manager, you have to basically sell them on you being able to help them. You know, and if they don't respect you, they're certainly not going to listen to you. So you have to earn their respect and trust, so that and then also you got to have a game plan that's going to work for them. So you got to be pretty smart to be able to do it. But again, it's all numbers. It's in other words, if I have to talk to this many prospects to sell a house, then that's what I have to do, and then you have to help them manage their time and behavior, so they're able to get in front of that many prospects, and then their numbers will keep they're growing. In other words, at some point they might have to sell. They might have to talk to 12 or 15 people to sell a house. Eventually, they get to a point they have to sell 5 or 6. That's a big difference.
And then it comes down to, do you actually have the skills to
Execute.
let the consumer know that you're coming from a good place, so they'll actually like and trust you, so that you can help them. So I really appreciate your time.
thank you guys for your
Before
time.
they
Thank you guys. I
name this
appreciate
the
it.
Dale Bach Show, you know, we'll sign up. No, really appreciate all your
Okay,
insight.
yeah.
Valuable information there. I hope you guys really got a lot out of that. Where would you like anybody watching, if they want to reach out to you or follow you on some kind of social media platform?
Follow me on LinkedIn, follow me on Instagram and Facebook as well. I'll be hopefully starting up my own TV show someday and helping give out some
Send me those
good
links.
content.
I'm going to link up all of Joel Valenti's info at the bottom of YouTube, and then in Facebook as well if you're watching there. And how about you? Do you want to?
My company is Management Developers Incorporated. I go by MDI. My website is managementdevelopers.com, and I'm out of Westwood, Massachusetts.
And Joel, make sure you get me that link. We'll put it on there. You know where to find this guy. Thank you guys so much. We're closing in on episode 100. You guys just sneaked in here, 98, right before we hit 100. See you next time.